Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're counting down our picks for the 10 best linear game experiences to enjoy right now on PlayStation 5.
Sackboy. I said the brave, bold, heroic Sackboy.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Resident Evil 4 Remake.
I've taken delivery preparing some entertainment for you. The entertainment. Without further ado.
Oftentimes, survival horror games make for some of the best guided linear experiences. This is due to the fact that many scary moments need to be heavily scripted in order to ensure players are focused on what's to come. In the case of the Resident Evil 4 remake, Capcom took an already stellar horror adventure game from 2005 and increased the scope while still maintaining the game's beloved characters, setting, and gameplay. By and large, the RE4 remake is still a point A to point B affair, just like the original. However, peppered into Leon's terrifying new journey are the addition of short side quests from the merchant, quirky shooting galleries, and storage case charms, to just name a few things. These smaller additions ensure the game feels fresh and unique while still moving you along its narrative in a more linear fashion, splicing in tense action encounters with memorable and iconic set-piece moments. A Plague Tale Requiem.
Everything was so nice and quiet, and so I told him that maybe it was over. Come on, come.
While the first game, A Plague Tale Innocence, might be the more linear affair, Requiem manages to finally toe the line between keeping you on the narrow path to the next narrative beat, while still interspersing light exploration to ensure things don't get stale. You once again step into the harrowing shoes of sister and brother duo Amicia and Hugo. Picking up after Innocence, our central characters must once again explore plague-infested lands, while searching for answers to Hugo's affliction. Yes, the one involving hordes and hordes of rats, namely the macula. Requiem is a pretty beefy game, taking upwards of around 15 to 20 hours for a typical playthrough, but the game's guided focus ensures you are always treated to a new story moment, a new locale, or a new gameplay weapon or power for our duo. Instead of opting for a gargantuan open world experience, Requiem gives you the freedom to move your way through mini zones, either engaging or avoiding enemies, while always keeping a brisk narrative pace.
For Amicia and Hugo, the road ahead will test the limits of what they can endure on all levels, and just how far they're willing to go.
Dead Space Remake.
What have you got, Isaac?
Half the Ishimura's in the red. Engines, hull, the tramps.
Can you handle it alone?
To be completely honest, the Dead Space remake didn't really need to do much to invest players into its necromorph-ridden world. The original game from 2008 was, and still is, a masterclass in linear, guided, and focused sci-fi horror. This remake knows exactly what it wants to be, a lovingly crafted return to form with highly immersive visual fidelity, more nuanced exploration and enemy encounters, and just enough tweaks to the game's pacing to keep seasoned Dead Space fans guessing around every corner. Isaac Clarke is back at it once again, this time fully voiced. Now, playing through this remake, even if you've played the original game, it really just feels completely fresh and new. Walking the dimly lit and blood-covered halls of the USG Ishimura never gets old, mostly down to impeccable sound design and near-perfect lighting. What really sets this game apart from its similar horror brethren is in the way navigation works. Just like in the original game, you can opt to just go your own way, exploring and surviving until you get to the next segment or chapter. Or for those who want a bit more guidance and linearity, you can use Isaac's handy guidance tracker beam thing that tells you exactly where to move to next. It's such a simple navigational tool that makes all the difference depending on the type of player you are.
Isaac, it's me. It's all falling apart here. I can't believe what's happening.
Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart.
Dr. Nefarious. This is the part where you lose. Ratchet, the Dimensionator.
Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is the pure epitome of fun on the PS5. Apart from being a showstopper for the console's raw power and speed, Rift Apart is also the type of game that allows you to tackle the experience as you see fit. You see, this game is broken up into highly explorable zones, each of which provides robust platforming sections, tantalizing secrets, and engaging side quests, all on top of some of the best third-person action combat around. Whether you are playing as Ratchet or newcomer Lombax's Rivet or Clank in some puzzle sections, you can keep to the linear path to just get to a new world or central narrative beat, or you can mix in some of the aforementioned things to acquire new upgrades and weapons for a more well-rounded experience. It's really just entirely up to you. Rift Apart just wants you to have a delightful and energetic time while you move through its cartoony sci-fi story.
How do I steer this thing?
Ask nicely.
Slow down, please! That's not listening!
The Last of Us Part 1. Intense character-driven adventure? Check. Finely tuned world building? Check. Intense and harrowing post-apocalyptic setting? Check. Brutal, in-your-face combat encounters? Yeah, also check. The Last of Us Part 1 is a stalwart in the third-person action-adventure genre, plus a good dose of survival horror is thrown in for good measure. Joel and Ellie's harrowing journey has rightfully received plenty of acclaim, mostly down to the game's writing and character building. But this game also earns its place here because it genuinely knows how to keep the player progressing forward at all times, with little filler or fluff to get you stuck. Sure, the crafting and gunplay might not always be a home run, however, it's the way in which this remake constantly changes up what's going on that ensures you are invested at all times until the somber conclusion.
What are you so afraid of?
Evil West.
Beasts and bloodthirsty creatures lurk in the shadows, in this twisted vision of the Old West.
Okay.
Evil West deserves so much more attention and love given that it's easily one of the best linear-focused AA games on the PS5, one that harkens back to the golden era of the PS2, when publishers weren't afraid to greenlight bizarre and wacky ideas. So what do you get when you combine vampires, supernatural shenanigans, electricity-based weapons and abilities, and a Wild West setting? Well, yeah, you probably guessed it, you of course get Evil West. Now, if you want a delightfully frenetic and devilishly fun action game that utilizes God of War style melee combat, Devil May Cry-esque combos, and some good old-fashioned Western gunslinging goodness, then you owe it to yourself to hop into this game as soon as possible.
Infuse weapons with the power of lightning, or supercharge your gauntlet to unleash an endless ballet of dazzling punches.
The story is wacky and filled with Weird West madcaps. The stages are all varied and highly creative, and the gameplay consistently gets better the more you play the game. Seriously, just go play this game right now if you are fixing for a straightforward linear vampire western game that you can easily wrap up in under 10 hours.
The world of Evil West is full of mysteries to uncover. And, well, colossal foes to take on.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gardeners of the Galaxy?
What? No, Rocket. So I let Groot fill out the paperwork.
It's a real shame that many Marvel fans were put off from venturing into Guardians of the Galaxy, given the, abysmal tire fire that was Marvel's Avengers. Rightfully so, people were scared to jump into a new Marvel game that strangely didn't have much marketing. But for those who took the plunge into 2021's Guardians of the Galaxy, they were treated to a royal feast of creative gameplay ideas, a thought-provoking and genuinely emotion-filled story, and plenty of wacky superhero moments, on top of memorable music and art direction. Guardians of the Galaxy takes everyone's favorite goofy heroes and thrusts them into a new story where they unfortunately set off a sci-fi catastrophe in motion during an attempt to help a specifically odd collector. It's a perfectly over-the-top cartoon-like story that melds nicely with third-person action combat gameplay and some strategic character guide moments that never outstays its welcome. Astros Playroom. Yep, this PS5 packing game also just so happens to be one of the very best linear games on the console. For the uninitiated, Astros Playroom is a whimsical 3D platformer that sees you controlling the titular Astro through a bevy of highly creative and ingenious levels. These levels and worlds are meant to showcase the PS5, from the DualSense controller's tactile nature to the SSD's uber-fast loading. But above and beyond all of that, Astros Playroom is just a downright enjoyable platforming adventure game with some tight controls, superb level design, enticing collectibles, and gameplay innovation around every cyber-soaked corner. While you can play the worlds in any order you choose, it's still a point A to point B platformer that encourages you to interact with Astro's impeccable suite of platforming abilities. Sackboy: A Big Adventure.
Oh, I do love a warm welcome. Ready to make history?
From one phenomenal platformer to another, this time around we have the endlessly lovable Sackboy: A Big Adventure from 2020. This solo or co-op platforming game sees you team up with the eponymous little Big Planet star Sackboy. He and his pals are off on a grand adventure, one that sees them leave the comfort of Craftworld in the hopes of stopping the dastardly Vex and his topsy-turver. Sackboy and friends must collect plentiful Dreamer Orbs in order to progress further into the game's many worlds, stages, and bonus areas. The sheer playfulness of this game's platform mechanics, especially in co-op, are so sublime that you will want to engage with every ounce of content the game is dripping with. No two stages are the same in this game, with some having you explore every nook and cranny, to others having you outrun a baddie, to others still blending music and rhythm to great success. It truly is a big adventure, one that keeps you progressing while sprinkling in just enough bonus goodies to make every moment worthwhile.
All on his way to becoming a knitted knight and ridding the world of Vex and his nightmarish terrors. Oh, come on! We can do better than that.
Stellar Blade.
Everyone's happy to call you the Angel just because you came from the Colony.
Nobody roams these lands free of suffering.
You're leaving to do something important, right?
Despite many pre-release marketing trailers and a free demo, Stellar Blade still managed to fly under the radar for many PS5 owners. This is especially shocking because Stellar Blade is one of those behemoth Sony-published first-party games that the company is obviously known for. Fortunately, PS5 owners are in for a real treat with this one. Stellar Blade takes some of the best elements of the Souls-like genre and the character-driven action-adventure genre and blends them into an apocalyptic smoothie that plays and feels like nothing you've really seen before. You step into the swanky shoes of Eve, where she and her companions must try to stop a terrifying alien race known as the Natibas. Having already ravaged much of Earth, the Natibas unfortunately end up at the Blade of Eve. This is where the game's over-the-top and intensely brutal combat comes into play, one that provides challenge and fairness in equal measure. Stellar Blade is a top-notch experience and provides enough linearity and guidance to make it engaging all throughout. So, do you agree with our picks for this list? Be sure to let us know down in the comment section which linear PS5 games are the best of the best that you think others need to experience. If you enjoyed this video and want more from us, then don't forget to subscribe to MojoPlays for even more gaming goodness every single day.